The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, share facts on drugs, save lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of
substance abuse.
to secure a brighter future
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, save lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collab.
misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk, with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
But before we, we're right here. But before we do that, let us quickly talk about the sensitivity of today's agenda. So we have a lot of people in the house, I'm pretty sure. Thank you so much for joining in. There's so many people right here who have probably been close to someone who has been affected by drug abuse. I mean, you've been to a rehab center.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure in some way you've also tried to help someone who is dealing with an addiction problem. So today the theme is share facts on drugs. Save lives. With the absence of the importance of facts, most people tend to live to the worst case scenario, which is, assumptions. And I think it's of utmost importance that today we state what is known versus what is
ambient
or an exaggeration.
Exactly.
So, with no further ado, or protocols duly observed, I would like to introduce our panel for today. Fantastic personalities that we have on here today. I feel empowered already. Do we have a Dottie in the house? Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for our yellow MTN Yellow Star winner, proud winner, Dottie. Dottie, how are you?
Good.
He looks like a star.
He is a star. That's why. That's why he was groomed to be. I love your studio setup, Dottie. It's fantastic.
Oh, Dottie, can you unmute a little? I think he's muted.
Yes. Ooh, we're so sorry, Dottie. We can't hear you.
Okay, so we're just gonna come back to you real quick. Let's might be a technical issue. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have one of our most active activists when it comes to anti-substance abuse, and in the person of David Jones, actor, musician, and
all-round
entertainer with the goal of making sure he spreads the good news. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you David Jones.
Hi guys.
David.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Abroad.
Are you in Nigeria? We just want to confirm.
Are you AR?
Both.
It's so good to have you here, David. How are you today?
I'm always good, trust me. And thanks for asking.
First and foremost, I think we have to commend you for taking our time to be here with us today.
Yes, and I also have to say a huge shout out to you for all of the work that you do. Like Nene B said, you are one of the most vocal entertainers who actively, without hesitation, fearlessly, relentlessly, you keep using your voice to bring attention to this topic that we are addressing today. So once again, a huge shout out to you, David Jones. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And now, since you're someone who we can all relate to, it's so easy for us to connect with you. And that's one thing we love most about your music. It's real. We are able to see how genuine the message is and your intentions behind this. Like we said, there are a lot of speculations. People bring up different scenarios of what drug abuse looks like. So since you're here, we'll be putting it to you to clear us through specific facts that you know about drug abuse, and also how can you spot someone who you think is going through this or is heading down that road or that path.
Okay, if I get your question clearly, because the audio is not really okay, but I think you're asking, how do you know a user? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Our apologies for the output, please.
Okay, I'm not a professional, you understand. I just have passion for using my voice to sing against the use of drugs. But I know there's certain changes that you notice in a user. You just know that firstly they love to be alone. They like to isolate themselves, and also you start noticing that they're always asking for money, and they're always lying about one thing or the other. These are just a few I can list out from my, from my own personal knowledge. I said I'm not professional, but I mean all these things.
Yeah, and Nene, I think that's a fantastic question, because sometimes we come to find that the people who end up in the deep end of addiction are typically surrounded by people who do not identify on time that they are going through a struggle. So I think hence why our question is super relevant. And I'm looking forward to us just diving deep into all of that conversation today. So thank you so much for sharing.
All right, please, let me see. Dottie, is your sound better now? Do we have Dottie still here with us? Dottie, can you unmute, please? There you are. Can I hear him?
Oh man, can you give us we really can't hear you. Apologies, Dottie. We can't hear you.
It would have been nice if we understood sign language. Everything.
How about can you hear me now?
All right, yes, wow. There you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, reintroduction, we have our MTN Yellow Style winner, Dottie, in person right here in the house. Dottie, how are you?
I'm really good today. Thank you so much. Feels good to be here. I really had to push up the volume so you can hear me, because
okay.
But I'm really good. I mean,
hey,
good to be a part of.
Like you said, your studio looks really nice.
Look, undeniably, you're brand ambassador for MTN Yellow Star. We must say, in this moment, you are shining, literally. You shine so brightly, man. We're super excited for your story. And I think Nenny has some interesting engagement for you.
So the last time I saw you was when when you took our grand finale and took it to like the next level. So I miss your sonorous voice. And I'm pretty sure every other person in the house would love to hear your sonorous voice. So can you just give me, how they put it, 4 bars, 8 bars, something here?
Some.
Yes, some for us.
All right, let's do this. Month. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Oh, it's not warm when she's away. Oh, ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. That's it. You like? Thank
It's
you.
you, Dottie. That's why it's you. You are phenomenal. Anyway, so everybody get the goosebumps off your skin a little so that we can get back on the road. Like we said, Dottie, thank you so much for being here. Talking about facts, sharing facts about drug abuse. I would like you to clearly put out, for us, ideas. Oh my God. Well, I would like you to put out. Dottie, are you still there?
Yes.
All right, yeah. I'd like you to put facts to this for me. People, so specific people don't have ideas of things or substances that are actually, harmful to their system. So I've heard someone say I can take like 6 doses of Panadol when I have a headache. I've had someone say, codeine, when I take it, just makes me feel calm. So can you list out names for us of, things that are very harmful to individuals so that we can all clearly have that, in mind with us?
All right, so because of the space where we operate, someone like me as a singer and studio person, I'm always in the studio with a lot of people that are like me, and some of the substances that we hear all the time, there's the Molly. They call it Molly. Honestly, I'm always like, why are you guys taking these things, and it's really alarming to see people consume it because they want to be on a particular frequency to operate in the studio. When I'm like, you don't need these things, there's of course the codeine, like they take it a lot.
Yeah.
They want to be wavy.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you want to be wavy, Sha, but of course it's something that I hear a lot. I see people take it a lot. Like, I mean, yeah, so those are some of it. I can go on and on. There's the meds.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing those names, because I'm not going to lie to you, we exist in a society where we hear people sing songs and toss some of these words in there, just to kind of appeal to fan sensation. There's this myth about the ability for these substances to stir the creative process of some people. You're someone who already had like a great, start in your career, and we can already see your trajectory. Is there any truth to that claim?
I think that a lot of people, first of all, in the space that I am, it's a lot of to get a voice of your own. You have to listen to people that have done things before you. It's a lot of imitation. You have to copy. Of course, it's just what it is. A lot of us didn't start music. We started music from watching music videos. Of course, like we got interested in wanting to do music from watching music videos, listening to radio, the songs that we hear, how these people have operated, the pictures that we see of them. I mean, think about some of the greats that I'm not going to mention it. When you see their pictures, like you see them with you see one with smoke, weed in his hands, and then he's telling you he's the greatest that has ever done it. I'm like, oh, if he's the greatest that's ever done it, and then he's holding this, I mean, this must be very important. I mean, if it's one of the greatest and is holding this, it must be very important to your creative process. And that lie, that delusion, they start with it. You don't need it. I'm saying it because honestly, it's not important. What you have, it's inborn. Yes, you don't need stuff like that. Of course, everybody needs something. You need inspiration to get inspired, but you don't need to use stuff that can harm you. You know, there are other means, other ways. Meditate, you know, stuff that you can do. So yeah, it's a lie.
Okay, all right. Dodi, thank you so much. I mean, he is someone who is in the center of it all.
Yes.
And you and I know that it is skill.
Yeah, thanks. We caught you.
We
Thank
got
you so much.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So like we were saying, so you know, he's right in the center of it all. And you find out that in this creative space, the usage, the amount, the percentage, demographic amount of people that are using, you know, drugs, it's a very high scale.
Oh my goodness, the numbers clearly show, and the fact that it's the emerging population that is, you know, subject to the current, I don't know what to call it, an endemic.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
I'd like to speak to David. David, are you with us? David Jones.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, so I'd like to speak to you on something personal. So you're right there on the streets. I mean, you're communicating with every single person directly. Would you say the youth are taking the matter and the issue of drug abuse seriously? Because it's one thing that we're doing on our end, but it's important for us to know what the feedback is like coming from the streets. Do you think the youths are taking this issue as serious as it should be taken?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because, you know, when you talk about drug abuse, you cannot separate it from addiction. You understand? And when it gets to that part, when you are addicted, that's when it gets to the point where nobody say I no one stop, but I no fit stop. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, from the result I get from what I do, I get a lot of youth, you know, send me DMs, and a lot know that this thing is killing them. And the problem there is that it's difficult to stop when you are already addicted. And one of the reasons why we do all this kind of sensitization is because a lot of people don't know what to do, where to go, or how to go about it. Because now, to answer your question, the answer is yes, they're taking it seriously. But it's how to stop it, that's the problem. So when someone is addicted and they don't know what to do, they just defend themselves. So it seems like they're not listening, but they are.
Yeah. And I think that our young people, so it's hard for me to place the responsibility, right, between the young person and the structure that we have around ourselves, be it family, be it friends, be it, you know, co-workers and colleagues. I remember a very, you know, funny incident that happened to me in my very first year in college. I had been picked up from the library by my cousins, and, you know, on the way home, they just wanted to stop at a party, say hi to a few friends, and then we'd continue. It was a party. I was hungry. I thought, let me pop in and find something to eat. I got in, and there was cake on the table. I had the cake, and 2 seconds later, or like a minute later, my cousin ran over to me and said, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I was hungry. I came to look for food." He's like, "Don't eat anything. Get out." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll finish my cake then." And he was just like, "You shouldn't have done that." And I ended up in the hospital for about 2 weeks. My mom had to fly into, you know, town because apparently what the doctor had described it as, you know, poisoning. What I thought was cake, and out of hunger, turned out to be something that had been laced with God knows what. Quite frankly, I almost lost my life. But that for me was like a wake-up call, and it's put a form of anxiety when it comes to attending parties or socializing generally. I can imagine if I was somebody who got, you know, stuck on that high and felt like, you know what, I felt like I was in heaven, but you know, that was probably what I was feeling. But the people on the outside were seeing me struggle for my life. It's interesting for us to say, look, there is a structure around us that should protect us, but where does it start? How do we, and I'm glad that we're here today, but I feel like the onus really is on the individual, acknowledging the fact that this substance, as whatever, regardless of whatever it is that has been said about it, I need to define my space and how I engage, with these quote unquote substances that are accessible to people running rapids on the streets today.
What name did you call it? The cake? Was it brownies?
The brownie. And this was what, near like 10 years ago? Imagine a young boy, first year of college, first 2 months, and walking into a party thinking innocently this was cake, and it turned out to be something else. The name today, I just never.
How do you enforce people to use substances or to eat something that's deadly to themselves without even asking you or informing you of what was directly inside this meal, like the components? Like it just gave it to you, eat.
No, so here it was just there.
It was just there.
I was just like, that's cake. Take a slice.
And
I think it speaks to just how recreational people have, how recreational this substance has become
and evolved.
Society,
so it's no longer, so we can't really just look at it and say it looks like a drug anymore.
Exactly.
I could work it somewhere at a wedding and have a cocktail and it might have these vibes.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to have public drinks anymore.
Again, it's just like we need to take social responsibility. It's like, if you're going to, God forbid, expose people to such, then you as an adult should really question, like, how do I define myself? How do I engage with people?
Okay.
Great. All right. So I'm sorry to have you. But like you said, it's very important that it starts from individually, every single one of us. So you don't actually have to wait to hear from foundations before you be responsible. So better still, if anybody's here who has ever done such before, or you've been engaging in things like that, I think it's important that maybe you just kind of label the components of what you're doing. Or better still, please just stay away.
Really?
Stay away. It is deadly. So imagine if you didn't come up with that. It's a really terrible situation. Okay.
And it was such a shameful experience because I could not explain to my mom.
Yes, and you're a young person. That's the way parents are sometimes.
Wait, you just got into school and this is what you decided to do. I'm just like,
and even if you were saying I didn't know, it looks like you were telling a big lie.
Exactly.
It's terrible. But that's why we're here today, and we're so happy that we're having this session so that we all can individually learn to take responsibilities by our own selves. So, David Jones, I mean, we can't say this, you can't be thanked enough. You are splendid. I'm a huge fan, by the way. So, yes. So, do we have our star in the house? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to know if Joe Boy is in the house. Oh, I don't think so. Let me be honest. They always wait for the so it's okay. They come in when they can. But then over to you. So now we've talked. We've talked about Dottie has identified for us a couple of things. He's from his own space, he showed us that there's one or two things and names that people use and whatnot. The most important thing I'm going to ask you is, why do you think people around addicts can't tell about it? Because, like, for example, if I have like a brother who's constantly coming to us asking me for money, I gave you money yesterday. You asked me money today. I want to know what you're doing with the money.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So fantastic. I feel like, what is it? Where are we doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Where are we going wrong?
I think that it speaks to the nature of family today. For me, 2020, as crazy a year that it was, it did one thing for myself and my family. It brought us together. Whereas, like, regardless of where everybody was, at every 2 days at least, we will all be on like a group video call. Yeah. Not just because we were missing each other, it was just, let's know how you're doing health-wise.
Yeah.
We didn't need a pandemic to show us that we needed to, reinforce the bonds that keep us together and what have you. Everybody is busy. You have friends who you've outgrown, you have friends who, haven't gotten to where you are yet, but it also feels like, we're also focused on the path that we're trying to be on and the successes and the stories that we're trying to tell. I think that we should start to take a step back and genuinely take interest in people. You came in today, I asked you, how's your day? You said to me, do you want the true story? Or do you want the highlight? I'm like, no, I want to hear the true story. And that's what genuine human connection
Yeah,
is. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if like we're going to be working together, I
Mhm.
really want to know
How
you're
you do it. And the funny thing now is, you know, people tend to just have like an automated response.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
fine.
good. I'm like, no.
You know, so
Dig a little deeper.
So what you're saying now is you mean each and every one of us have to become more empathical towards each other. It's not even, I don't have to be your brother or your blood for you to pay attention.
Yeah.
So I think we should just take it upon ourselves to be more observant
and be human.
I
have a friend who saw the flyer for this yesterday, and he reached out to me and said, "Oh my God, how can I connect? I recently discovered that my brother is addicted to something." I'm like, wait, which of his brothers? Because he's a close friend.
Yeah.
And then he sent me, the picture of his brother in the state. I'm like, this is not possible. Like, he is, one of the youngest in the family. I would never have expected, because first of all, you all grew up in a great home.
Yeah.
And now it turned out, so when he started to tell me the story, it was just a case of, hey, he left home, wanted to go himself, and all of a sudden he gets a call from this brother and says, "Oh, are you home?"
Yeah.
And then he says he started noticing that he wasn't sleeping well at night. He was very frantic. He was acting out of the norm. And this he would not have noticed if he hadn't spent a certain amount of time with his brother to understand who his brother was.
Yeah.
As much as he tried to hide whatever it is he was going through, it took the fact that he knew who his brother was to be able to spot some of the differences in the behavioral pattern, to say, look, there's something up here. And then he escalated to his parents. So again, it really is just knowing who you are and just being genuinely interested in people from here on out.
Okay, so for the Masters of Overdose, so this was like 2-3 years ago. So I was I was just probably somewhere, having a good time with my friends. And you know how it can happen, girls sleep over. Yes. So I'm sleeping, and whatever is happening is happening. Now I'm in that corner because we entertainers. So I get up at night, and this is like game is awake. Why did you guys sleep? I can get it, but like I'm expecting you to sleep because you have to go to work tomorrow. No. So I step to the kitchen and I come back, and then everybody's like panting. Move on. So then she has like foam coming out of her mouth.
No.
So what I want to know is, because at that point, I'm not going to lie to you. If not that, because of information and knowledge and exposure now, I know one or two things. I was totally like stoned.
Flustered.
What's
going on?
Do I put a spoon?
Yeah.
Because when we're growing up, there was this rumor that, you put a spoon in that. What does, I'm just like, do you press? So in cases where you have someone who probably has overdosed and they're convulsing, what's the best situation to do till the paramedics get there? What do we do?
You know what? The truth is, we never know except for sensitizing ourselves through platforms and events like this. Today we're going to be speaking to a bunch of experts in the house, and we will get to listen to their own experiences. Because again, like, I've never been in this situation where I've seen someone, I'm an asthmatic. I know what people do to me when I have my crisis and whatever, and I know how to respond to somebody. And this is because, because of the situation I'm in, I've had to research and kind of educate my friends to say, look, this is where my spare inhaler is. This is where my pills are. When push comes to shove, chew a banana and spit it in my mouth or something, just potassium. But I'm glad that we're here today. I too would be eager to know how we are able to address issues like that when we do happen upon them. It's tough, but we also have to give a huge shout out to MTN and the MTN Foundation for putting this together. As you can tell, it promises to be a super engaging event today. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, and
we're in here. So guys, I mean, I work with a lot of artists, so I can tell you that this time be fashionably late, but when they come in, it's like right. So we're asking again just about if our guest stars in the house. Please, do we have Joe Boy in the house?
Do we have Joe Boy?
Yes. Okay.
I don't think we have Joe Boy. Hey, but it's okay.
But it's all right.
Yeah.
So over to you. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, I just wanted to find out. I mean, I'm a lady, and I don't know about other ladies, but the way I was raised, I mean, home training will not allow you to do certain things. They beat the home training, so it won't allow you to do certain things. Why does it feel like a lot of women? Why does it like a lot of women this day?
Yeah.
I'm sad because growing up, when you hear drug abuse, you usually see men.
Yes.
What do you think is responsible for the high increase in women consuming substances that can be absolutely deadly to them?
You know,
why? I'm right. The lady is tying something.
Yes.
Why would you even want to be? I don't get it. So, at some point, as a human, you want to be judgmental.
Yeah.
But then, as a realist, you want to take a step back and find out, you know what? Let me understand why this is happening.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all grew up in the same way. It's different.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all young people. So I mean, I haven't seen anything that kind of like really pushed me, and I want to know so that we can find how to spread word to people, especially young women. If it's maybe depression or maybe just too much pressure from society or something that they can't manage, I think we need to start finding a way to incorporate people or young women getting into organizations that can bring them up aside from the family, the family train. Just little things that you can join to really give you the strength you need as a woman to withstand such. It's just
I think I'll start by saying that we all need to acknowledge that we live in a blessed country. without saying anything else. We need to acknowledge the fact that we live in a blessed country. That's one. And then if we think of the way that our society is evolving these days, we're getting to this space where it's like women are not necessarily expecting, the line between responsibility and roles that are played between male and female is a little blurred, where it's like, whatever I come to the table with is what you come to the table with. So it will be unfair to say that women are not feeling as much pressure as men. Right now, I think that the pressure both is equal. Men are going through what they're going through, and women are equally going through what they're going through. And in the way that we're advocating for women's rights and equality and what have you, we also need to acknowledge the weight and the toll that it might be taking on women, especially because of it's factual. First of all, there is the gender pay gap difference. And then even within the female space, the wealth is not evenly distributed. And so maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's the need to rise to the occasion of, being responsible for the society today. It's exactly.
And
so
it's also from peer pressure.
Peer pressure. So that really is how I think, women are starting to get exposed to this thing. This, like I saw during the research, it's like 1 in every 4 women. 1 in 4.
That's
1 in 4. It's heartbreaking. And like I said, this thing has the tendency to hit closer to home than anyone. So unless we keep ourselves aware of the way that our society is changing, we're actively speaking to people and recognizing the need to have our mental health addressed and catered to.
Key on that, because I feel like in the country, we're like Nigeria, if you told someone, let's have like a mental check, they think you're being disrespectful to them or you are being condescending. So I think it's high time we get to that point where people need to understand that it's okay. People have mental disorders from time to time. It doesn't mean
that you're going to be discarded in society. I think we have Joe Boy. Oh, David Jones, you had a comment?
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Joe Boy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great.
He looks cozy that way. Are you in the country, Joe Boy?
No, I'm not. I'm not in the country at the moment. I'm in Ghana at the moment.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
David, you had a comment.
Yes, I do. Welcome, Joe Boy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so
Joe Boy,
yes, go ahead. David, go ahead.
All right. I was going to add to what you were saying about why there's an increase, in ladies, doing drugs. That's what you were saying, Nenny B, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think our parents need to pay more attention like they used to.
Okay, while we get David back, Joe Boy, are you live?
Yeah, I'm live.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Hello?
What's happening?
Hi, Joe Boy, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
All right, great.
I can hear you now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, like we said, for joining us. I know you have a lot of things on your schedule, but it's important that we all try to see how we be here today. As a young man coming up in the industry, so far so good. I can tell that your growth has been surreal, absolutely surreal. When Joe Boy came out, the first, we didn't see it coming. We did not see it coming, but the moment it came out, it was
a roller coaster.
And that's how it's been scaling, and it never went down. So as regards to your career first, I'd like to commend you and let you know that you're doing us proud.
Thank you very
Africa's
much.
proud of you, but Nigerians, we're proud of you. Now, you are a very influential person. You have a lot of followers, and especially young followers. So what I would like to ask you is this: at this stage where you are in your career, how do you think you can use, or because the rest of us we all have our fan base, what's the best advice you can give to like a young person who is out there who probably is practicing or using substances that can harm them?
Yeah. So I'd say it might seem like a good escape, but what I realized is that most people or most young people that are actually into drugs see it as a form of escape. It takes their mind off their problems. But the way life is, you always have to face your problems head on. You shouldn't rely on like drugs or chemicals to actually take your mind off, because they have like negative effects at the end of the day. So I believe there are other ways. There are other ways to actually like get your mind off it, like working out, doing something productive that actually takes your mind off it. Because I've had friends that were into drugs. I'll be honest about it. But we tried our best to get them out of it by talking to them. And sometimes most young people just feel alone. They feel like they don't have people that they can trust, talk to, and that's just like makes them dependent on these drugs. And the best way for me, like the advice I would give to every young person out there that's really like stuck on it right now, is look for something else to do, something you love, you enjoy doing. Try and talk to somebody. It could be your parents, it could be your friend, it could be a counselor, it could be me. You could even send me a DM. If I see that, most likely reply, because I get a lot of DMs too about people being depressed, and I try to like talk to them and advise them. So, but bottom line, drugs is like a no-go. Like it has no positive effect in the long run. It leads to like health issues and mental issues too. So yeah. But working out, I'll point that out. Working out actually like really works when it comes.
It's important that you're saying that. It's important that you're saying this, because I feel like I like to deal with like a lot of artists, and they have this perception of like there's this whole adrenaline that gets into you when you're about to go on stage, or even if it's just an hour or 30 minutes to your performance or something. So they always feel the need to want to take something to give them the energy to, perform, push, get pumped. Do you understand? So it's important that he's saying workout. So I mean, there's nothing stopping you from doing like 10, 20 push-ups before you get on stage.
Yes, like
so much for saying that.
Yeah, because working out for me actually like does it. Like if I'm tense, if I'm stressed out, if I'm having like any form of anxiety, what I try to do is I just go and work out. I try and sweat it out. I try and work it out, and it always works for me. Now I'm like almost addicted to working out too. So, but I think that's a good addiction. So, work out, guys. Work out. Work out.
It's an amazing addiction, and I tell you that I don't know. But I remember when you first get it, but you look buff now. So guys, it's also good for the amazing. Thank you so much. And the panel, wow. I must tell you, I am definitely impressed with today. I think we unanimously made a good selection
I
for our
think so.
entertainment segment.
Most certainly. You guys have done fantastic. Thank you so much for your contributions. I think Joe Boy, please stay back. Don't leave us just yet because
I'm still here.
I'd like to invite our other panelists for this session to please turn on your video. Would like to do a quick follow-up with you before we transition into the next phase of today's event. Okay, so Dottie, David Jones, yes, all right. Media team, we have our entertainers on screen, so please, you know what to do, and please give us a sign when it's done.
Don't leave us standing here like it's too long.
All right, cool.
You know, when the photographer takes so long to snap. So you're like,
okay, I think we got it. Okay, so that brings us to actually, you know what? That's your cue.
all right, so thank you so much for joining us on the Entertainment and Music segment. You know that it's still very important. A lot of 80% of the nation of Nigeria's young people, the 200 million people, are all creative. So it's important that we have a segment for them so that they can understand that they're not alone.
Yes.
You are not alone. We are with you, and we completely understand where you are mentally, physically, and emotionally. With that, I have to say thank you so much. And of course, media personality himself, the soul entrepreneur himself, CFO, activist himself, Biodularo. You are amazing. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey.
Moderating with you is like we're kind of in part. But thank you so much, and continue to do the good work you do. It is showing, and I can tell that Scott definitely did it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. With that, I am now going to be handing over to Piotr to take us to the next phase of this panel. Thank you guys so much. Once again, my name is Nelly B, and it has been an honor moderating for you today. Thank you so much.
Mr. Brian, please can we...
In 2018, it was determined by the UNODC that up to 269 million people used drugs in that year alone. The COVID-19 pandemic created a global panic and raised the anxiety levels of everyone around the world. Regrettably, this led to an increase in the use of substances throughout the period, with a bulk of the incidents resting on women, youth, and the poor. Interestingly, the travel limitations placed by COVID affected the movement of these substances within all transportation lines, especially the opioids. This resulted in the increase in the cost of substances, exploration of a wider amount of substances, and most dangerously, an increase in the adulteration of these substances, resulting in major impurities and worse health impacts. According to the 2018 UNODC report on drug use in Nigeria, the social consequences of drug use are also evident in Nigeria. Key informants consider that there were major social problems such as disruption in family lives, loss in productivity, and legal problems as a consequence of drug use in their communities. By extension, nearly 1 in 8 persons in the general population had experienced consequences due to other people's drug use in their families, workplace, and communities. While the use of drugs is observed amongst all age groups in Nigeria, overall past-year use of most drug types is high among young people within the age brackets of 25 and 39 years. This is true for cannabis as well as for non-medical use of prescription opioids like tramadol, codeine, morphine, and cough syrups containing codeine or dextromethorphan. People who inject drugs constitute a sizable proportion of high-risk drug users in Nigeria. 1 in 5 high-risk drug users is injecting drugs. The most common drugs injected in the past year were pharmaceutical opioids, followed by cocaine and heroin. While overall more men were injecting drugs, women were more likely than men to report injecting heroin. Women who injected drugs were more likely than men to engage in high-risk sexual behaviors, further compounding their risk for acquiring HIV, among other infections. Nearly 1/4 of high-risk drug users had been arrested for a drug-related offense during the course of their drug use, while the majority, 73%, had been arrested for possession of drugs. Many high-risk drug users had also been arrested for burglary, sex work, shoplifting, and theft. The health impact brought about by substance abuse is alarming and has presented challenges for the health facilities to manage. This is compounded by the high prevalence of secrecy amongst substance abusers who prefer to hide away for fear of stigmatization. Get help if you need it, and encourage your friends and family struggling with drug and substance abuse to also get help today. Get more information today. Visit the UNODC website and join us on the 25th of June 2021 as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives. Follow us on all our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event. In 2018, MTN through its foundation launched the Anti-Substance Abuse Program, ASAP, a multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral behavior change initiative aimed at reducing the rate of first-time and habitual use of substances or drugs amongst young Nigerians aged between 10 and 25 years. ASAP was supported by the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Health, NDLEA, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, amongst many other notable organizations and agencies. The campaign was implemented across 6 states: Lagos, Imo, Rivers, Bauchi, Kano, and the FCT, and leveraged on various tools to communicate the messaging such as drama presentations, a microsite, media campaigns, national and state conferences, advocacy walks, market campaigns, training for influencers, engagements in campuses, primary and secondary schools.
They taught us very well.
Right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Biodun, but before I jump right into it, Nelly B, thank you so much. That was a super fantastic session. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 in 7 persons aged between 15 and 64 have taken a drug other than tobacco and alcohol in the past year. I'd like to ask you to let that sink in for a while. It's evident that the prevalence of drug abuse just might hit closer to home now more than ever. Thankfully, we are here today and I am honored to be here with you all. Once again, a huge shout out to David Jones, David, Joe Boy, and Dottie, and the fantastic Nemi B. I'm super excited to be taking it from here. My name is Abiodun Laro, known by many as B Diesel, and I'll be your host for today. On behalf of MTN, I'd like to officially welcome you once again to the Drug Convos, brought to you by MTN's Anti-Substance Abuse Program, courtesy of MTN Foundation in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, UNODC. Now, MTN ASAP was launched in 2018, and since then, it has become, its sole purpose is to be a multi-sectoral platform where organizations and institutions can collaborate in this fight against substance abuse in Nigeria. Now, its objective is to discourage first-time use of drugs, across all mediums. As reference, today's event is in furtherance of that cause, and we're calling this the Drug Convos. Now, tomorrow, the 26th of June, is the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, but we've decided to host this event today. I mean, that is the World Drug Day. But we've decided to host this event today because we don't want to disturb your Oambers tomorrow. So, hey, we are happy that you're all here. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, as you all know, last year was one roller coaster of the year, but 2021 is holding so much promise. And that is why we're gathered here today to talk about some of the things that we can do to keep us on the up and up. Today is all about the drug combos, so please make sure you share the hashtag MTNASAP, hashtag share facts on drugs, save lives on your social media handles. Social media handles, don't tweet to, please. Just your other social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, and every other place where you can share the hashtag. And we have an amazing lineup today for you, and it promises to be super engaging. We have a documentary that we're going to be showcasing, and we also have yet another super immersive panel session with some giants who are playing key roles in advocating against drug abuse. So you just might want to stick around for that. Once again, welcome everybody. And there just might be a special performance here or there, and make sure not to miss that. Without further ado, I would like to acknowledge some distinguished guests here in our midst today. I'd kick off by welcoming the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports Development, ably represented by Mr. Ogba Ede, the Director, Education and Youth Development. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. I would also like to welcome Prince, the one and only Prince Julius Adeluyi, OFR MNI, the Chairman of the MTN Foundation. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you in our midst today. The Director, MTN Foundation, Mr. Dennis Okoro. Hello again. I'm happy to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Oduayo Sonia, today is your big day. Congratulations on this event. Thank you so much for being here today. Do we have you online?
Yes, you do. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi.
You're welcome. How are you feeling today?
Very well, thank you. And you?
I'm doing very well. Once again, congratulations on this event today. The Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Mr. Oliver Stope, from the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. Thank you so much for joining us, Oliver. I see you. We have Mr. Frank Aibogu, publisher, Business Day Media Limited, the man who keeps the ink wet when it comes to everything business in this great nation. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Super. We also have Mr. Bada Akitude Johnson, Country Manager, Viacom's CBS Networks Africa. This man is a fan favorite among the celebrities in this great country. How are you doing from home and abroad? Hello, Mr. Bada.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Super excited to have you in the house today. I've also got Dr. Maimuna Kadri, the founder of Pinnacle Medical Services. How are you doing today, doctor?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, representing the presence of God in our midst and ably represented, we've got Pastor Tony Rapu in the house, but he's ably represented by Dr. Osasuyi Dirisu, MD, PhD, LWW, Research and Strategy. Dr. Osasuyi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It's great to be here.
Good afternoon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome, excuse me, sorry. Right, without further ado, I would like to welcome Prince himself. We have Prince. We've got, I would like to kick off with some opening remarks that is going to be taken by Frank Aibogu. Like I said, he's the man who keeps the pen wet when it comes to everything business in this great nation. And he's also the plum, so you might want to pay attention to him. Mr. Frank, the floor is yours.
Jordan, thank you very much. I'm very delighted to have this opportunity to participate in what I think is a very important and crucial program directed at canvassing against drug abuse in Nigeria. We had a great time in last year when we gathered again, and I see that today we have aptly christened it Drug Convos. I have been part of what has happened today and have enjoyed every bit of it. And I'd like to congratulate MTN Nigeria and especially MTN Foundation for the great work that they are doing to carry the message to every nook and cranny in Nigeria to ensure that we wage the war that we must as a nation wage against drug abuse. Especially, I mean, I watched the a video that preceded this formal session and all the very troubling data that came out. And one thing that I'd like to also reiterate is the fact that drug abuse is rising, not just among the elderly population, and most importantly among the youth population. I think that is quite troubling. It is in that context that I salute MTN Foundation for this great initiative. I believe that we can achieve better outcomes by expanding the constituency of the anti-drug campaigners. We can achieve better outcomes through broader collaboration between government, business, media, and religious leaders. And it is in that extent that I am proud to say that Business Day is a key partner and collaborator in this initiative. Now, without any further ado, we have the big elephants in the room, and I'd like at this point to take an absolute pleasure and privilege in inviting the chairman of MTN Foundation, Prince Julius Adelusi Adelui, OFR MNI, to give his welcome remarks. Our dear Prince, we invite you, sir.
Apologies, I don't think we have the Prince on the call at this time, so it's okay. We will now transition to the Minister, ably represented by Mr. Ogba Ede, representing the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports Development, here to deliver the keynote address. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you. It's my pleasure being part of this event today. The Honorable Minister would have been personally available to handle this, but for his other official engagement. Because he's not here, he has given me his speech, and I would like you to kindly permit me to go through his speech. Let me stand on the already established protocols. I am delighted to be part of this ceremony and to deliver the keynote address at the webinar session to commemorate the 2021 edition of the United Nations International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, World Drug Day, with the theme War Against Substance Abuse, Better Health for All. Let me commend the efforts of MTN and the organizers of the program, particularly for bringing together the relevant stakeholders to carry out the campaign against drug abuse and its illicit trade. According to Wikipedia, the International Day Against Drug Abuse and the Illegal Drug Trade is observed annually on 26 June since 1989. The observance was instituted by the General Assembly Resolution 42/112 of 7 December 1987. What then is drug and its abuse? Defining the term drug to everyone's satisfaction may be a difficult task. It has produced an avalanche of literature. Mullen, 1986, defined drug as any substance other than food and water, which, by virtue of its chemical nature, has a direct effect on the structure or functioning of an individual. Drugs can be used for the treatment of ailments or to influence one's behavior. While drugs are used for beneficial purposes, they are also abused. In this regard, the World Health Organization, WHO, defines drug abuse as a harmful or hazardous use of psychoactive substances, including alcohol and illicit drugs. The United States Cancer Institute defines drug abuse as the use of illegal or prescription or over-the-counter drugs for purposes other than for which they are meant to be used or in large amount. Short-term and long-term health effects of drug use occur from repetitive abuse over the years. Specific effects depend on the person, how much is being used, medical history, and of course, which substances are being used. Globally, drugs are placed under national and international control to prevent the negative health and social consequences of substance abuse. In Nigeria, the increasing involvement of youth in drug abuse has become a worrisome development. According to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLA report, no fewer than 14.2 million Nigerians, including youth, consumed illicit drugs in 2018. This alarming figure keeps increasing by the day rather than abating. Only yesterday, 24 June 2021, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime sounded a note of warning that the menace will rise by 11% in the world by the year 2030. This calls for collective action to address the monster. The consequences of drug abuse / illicit trafficking are so there that the fight against the menace must be supported by all stakeholders. The consequences of drug abuse include, but not limited to, cardiovascular diseases, cancers, gastrointestinal effects, neurological effects, mental health effects, hepatitis and HIV, musculoskeletal disorders, respiratory deficits, kidney damages, and death. A recent case of death connected with drug use in Nigeria involved a 21-year-old girl who killed the CEO of Super TV in Lagos after the two of them took drugs. There are many other such cases that may not be reported. Quite apart from them, also precipitated numerous social vices, particularly amongst youth, such as violence, financial crimes, kidnapping, cultism, economic downturn, educational dislocation, and general insecurity in the society. It is often asserted in some quarters that some youths who are jobless and have no means of livelihood tend to engage in the various activities, including drug abuse. It is against this background that the Federal Executive Council approved the revised National Youth Policy 2019 to 2023 at its meeting of 27th March 2019. The revised National Youth Policy launched in Akure on 24th May 2019 aims at protecting the fundamental human rights of all youths, promote the optimal development and well-being, as well as enhance their participation in national development processes. The policy has 5 cross-sectoral developmental pillars that are fundamental to enabling you to transit to self-fulfilled and productive adulthood with opportunities for full, effective, and constructive participation. The 5 strategic thrusts of the policy are as follows: productive workforce and sustainable economic engagement, lifestyle, participation, inclusiveness, and equitable opportunities for all youth, promotive and protective environment for youth development, partnership building, and effective collaboration. These are driven by competent and committed professionals to ensure the maximum impact of youth-focused programs and activities on the individual and the society. In the course of implementing the guidelines in the policy, attention is being paid to circumstances that increase their vulnerability to health risks and antisocial behaviors. This will include, but not limited to, youth living in slum areas with high rates of crime and access to drugs. In this regard, the ministry will leverage on the multi-sectoral collaborative effort with various organizations whose roles are tangential to the implementation of the youth development agenda of the federal government. In a bid to curb drug abuse and illegal drug trade among youth, which usually trigger antisocial behavior, the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development will use its best endeavors to encourage Nigerian youth to be gainfully employed through the acquisition of various skills leveraging on the ministry's training programs in agriculture and vocational skills. The youth are also being exposed to ICT-based ventures. We are going into partnership with the relevant stakeholders in this regard. I am happy to note that the ministry has just signed an MOU with Tech for Development and Microsoft to train 36,000 youth across the country in digital skills at the basic, intermediate, and advanced level. This MOU was signed on Tuesday, 22nd June this year. One thing to note is that the employable youth can contribute to national development. The world economy is gradually shifting from resource-based economy to an era of knowledge economy with information and communication technology as the main driver. This is in line with the economic diversification of the present government. It is my fervent hope that the implementation of the revised policy will place our youth on a pedestal of positive development and personal fulfillment, and thus discourage them from engaging in drug abuse and illegal drug trade, including related antisocial practices. We will also synergize with any other relevant stakeholders in this regard through bilateral and multilateral cooperation. The ministry is also building a strong collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, as well as the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in the fight against drug abuse and its illegal trade. Ladies and gentlemen, may I at this juncture call on all well-meaning individuals, ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as development partners, youth organizations, and various non-governmental agencies to collaborate with the ministry in the war against drug abuse, illicit trafficking, and the general implementation of the national youth policy in favor of our youth. Finally, I enjoy the teaming Nigerian youth and indeed all youths of the world to eschew drug abuse and engage in more meaningful ventures to be able to empower themselves and contribute their quota to national development and world peace. The youth in Nigeria should take advantage of the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund approved by them by the Buhari administration and being disbursed by the CBN to youth with bankable business proposals and various training programs of the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development in agriculture, vocational skills, and ICT. ICT is the way to go, especially as the COVID-19 pandemic has created a new normal that is ICT driven. Thank you for listening, and may God bless.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogba Ede. That was the Director, Education and
Ogaba Ede.
Apologies, sir.
Youth Development.
So sorry, apologies.
Ogaba Ede, Ogaba, yes.
Oh, wow. Ogaba Ede, thank you so much for correcting this. I appreciate
it.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Director, Education and Youth Development, representing Mr. Sunday Dare, the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sport Development, who just gave us the opening remarks. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to the Drug Convos, MTN's anti-substance abuse program, commemorating the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as the World Drug Day. Remember, the hashtag for this event is MTNASAP, hashtag Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives. Please feel free to share the link to this event with your friends. Make sure you post about it on your social and drive traffic to the conversation that we're having here today. We kicked off with a roundtable chat with some of our entertainers. Myself and Nenny B anchored the session, and we had Joe Boy, David Jones, David, and we also had our first MTN Yellow Star winner, Dottie. We got to listen to the publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Aibogo, and like I said, we just heard from the Director of Education and Youth Development, representing the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports Development, Honorable Sunday Dare. Mr. Frank, I hope you're still with us.
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir. We have the Prince in our midst now, so I'd like to turn to you to please do the honors, sir.
Thank you very much. I will do that promptly. I am very delighted, and for me, it's an absolute privilege to be able to invite and call to the podium the chairman of MTN Foundation, Prince Julius Adelusi Adelui OFR, MNI, and a great and wonderful Egmont of mine. Prince, please, the floor is yours.
And I show my gratitude to those who have organized this year's Drug Abuse Day. I want to say to all of you that by joining us on this day, you are doing a very good thing. The Honorable Minister has been represented very well by Mr. Ogaba. Mr. Ogaba, you spoke so well. Maybe you are practicing to be a future minister yourself, and I wish you well. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the MTN Nigeria and MTN Foundation to this virtual event. A survey by the National Bureau of Statistics and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime revealed that 14 in every 100 Nigerians aged between 15 and 65 use psychoactive substances for non-medical purposes. Imagine that. The implications here are staggering, particularly when you look at these statistics through the lens of the number of people you know and interact with on a daily basis. Granted that one can argue that the statistics are based on some high-level arithmetic, but that is not the total story. Bear in mind that these statistics are based on a report published in 2019. So these numbers are pre-pandemic levels. What do you think has happened over the past 15 months? With the unimaginable scale of disruption from the pandemic, the accompanying lockdown and restrictions, the resultant halt in economic activity that affected consumer spending, businesses, jobs, and indeed livelihoods. The scourge of substance abuse is a near and present danger. More so, as the statistics indicate that a staggering number of people are caught in its snare. Tackle this subject as a situation heading towards national emergency levels, eating into the fabric of our society with dire consequences. Urgency it deserves. And this is why we launched at the MTN the Anti-Substance Abuse Program, ASAP, in 2018. And we're happy we did. Through our targeted campaigns and interventions carried out in collaboration with some of the fine people some of them are gathered here today, we have made strides. But in the fight in which we are engaged, there is need to continue with high levels of commitment so that we must achieve together by working together. Last year, we executed a digital media awareness campaign. Thank you once again, Business Day. Thank you once again, NetNG. And MTV base. Thank you to our distinguished personalities, some of whom are subject matter experts and game changers through their own organizations and interventions. Thank you to our influencers and celebrities. All these valuable partners and stakeholders were present at the 2020 webinar. They threw their weight behind our cause and made last year's edition quite a success. A total of 954 persons, nearly 1,000, watched the live event on Zoom and on YouTube, and a total of 9.5 million people were reached. Over 19 million impressions were garnered across all digital channels. I look forward to another successful outing this year, one that we can all be very proud of. Once again, this 2021 ASAP campaign aims at stimulating wider discourse among individuals from several walks of life to help find ways to spread further awareness and combat this menace. The theme is share facts on drugs, save lives. We will be discussing candidly strategies for sensitization and the tactics we can use to address substance abuse and the destruction it leaves in its wake, and what we can do to end its deleterious effect on individuals, on families, and communities. In a post-truth era, where proliferation of misinformation is rife, it has become increasingly difficult to sort out fact from fiction. It is therefore crucial that the right information about our cause is made easily available, not just to our target audience, but to the general populace. Information is power, and the right information can indeed achieve revolutionary effects. We should use this webinar, as well as other platforms and media, to spread truth and therefore combat falsehood. I believe it bears repeating that today's webinar is about our fight against substance abuse in our dear nation, Nigeria. It is a fight that we believe calls for a multi-sector, multi-stakeholder approach. We believe that through the power of collaboration, we will and we can build a better Nigeria. Together, we will continue to rally at the scale and urgency required. Together, we will play our part towards a drug-free nation. Together, we will make Nigerians feel better when they think of the contribution that we in our togetherness here continue to make to ensure that drug abuse is stamped out of our environment. Again, I say to you all, I really, on behalf of the MTN Nigeria but especially and precisely the MTN Foundation, I'd like to appreciate you all for making time in these times in Nigeria to be part of this whole effort. Be assured that our efforts are being noticed. Be assured that change is being made from our efforts. Be assured that individually and jointly, we shall make a Nigeria of our time and of our expectation that is free of drug abuse and substance abuse. You know what? I thank you all for listening. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the chairman, MTN Nigeria Foundation, Prince Julius Adelusi, OFR MNI. Thank you so much, sir. Your presence is always very calming, and thank you so much for bringing all of those facts home. We are truly honored to have you in our midst today. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is there is never enough conversation around such a topic. And to be gathered here on a day like this, at this moment, does nothing but stir hope for the future. Now, please keep the conversation going. Share the link for this event with your friends. Post about it on social, share it with your loved ones, and across all your social media platforms. We really need to bring attention to the subject at hand. This is still the Drug Convos, brought to you by MTN's Anti-Substance Abuse Program, courtesy of MTN Foundation in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. We'd also like to give a huge shout out to all of our media partners today: Business Day, MTV Base, HIP TV, and the Net NG. We really could not be doing this without you. So we just had our address from the chairman, MTN Foundation, and you know, this is definitely a day for impact. We will now be, I would like to segue into a space that further contextualizes today's conversation. When we had Mr. Ogaba, you know, talk to us, he made reference to an incident recently where a young lady murdered the CEO of an organization because she influenced on drugs. Now, data provided by the UNODC reveals that 1 in 8 people have experienced consequences of drug use by someone in their community. So again, I preface that to say that the conversation we're having today could not be more important. Think about it. You could be at the prime of your career, you know, waiting to make the next big move, and someone in your family comes down with an addiction issue. There is no way you would tell me that such a case will not hold your life back, because you have to step back and address the matter. The numbers are out there, and this literally could be happening to any one of us at this time. Like I said, the conversation we're having today cannot be more important. Now, to heighten matters, the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, you'd imagine that would bring some reprieve to this situation, because we're all locked away and we're all, you know, trapped in one space where we didn't have access to many of the things that defined our lives. Well, think again, because we're about to learn just how much worse it made things. The world is rife with fake news today, and the more facts we share, the more lives we can save. MTN ASA Foundation put together an amazing documentary that we're going to be screening right now. It's time for us to have these visuals, and look, I don't know where you are. Anybody who is joining us, please stop whatever you're doing right about now and pay attention to what you're about to watch. It is super informative, and if you take nothing away from this event, please listen to the information that we're about to share right about now. Media team, over to you, please.
Up to 269 million people used drugs in that year alone. The COVID-19 pandemic created a global panic and raised the anxiety levels of everyone around the world. Regrettably, this led to an increase in the use of substances throughout the period, with a bulk of the incidents resting on women, youth, and the poor. Interestingly, the travel limitations placed by COVID affected the movement of these substances within all transportation lines, especially the opioids. This resulted in the increase in the cost of substances, exploration of a wider amount of substances, and most dangerously, an increase in the adulteration of these substances, resulting in major impurities and worse health impacts. According to the 2018 UNODC report on drug use in Nigeria, the social consequences of drug use are also evident in Nigeria. Key informants consider that there were major social problems such as disruption in family lives, loss in productivity, and legal problems as a consequence of drug use in their communities. By extension, nearly 1 in 8 persons in the general population had experienced consequences due to other people's drug use in their families, workplace, and communities. While the use of drugs is observed amongst all age groups in Nigeria, overall past-year use of most drug types is high among young people within the age brackets of 25 and 39 years. This is true for cannabis as well as for non-medical use of prescription opioids like tramadol, codeine, morphine, and cough syrups containing codeine or dextromethorphan. People who inject drugs constitute a sizable proportion of high-risk drug users in Nigeria. 1 in 5 high-risk drug users is injecting drugs. The most common drugs injected in the past year were pharmaceutical opioids, followed by cocaine and heroin. While overall more men were injecting drugs, women were more likely than men to report injecting heroin. Women who injected drugs were more likely than men to engage in high-risk sexual behaviors, further compounding their risk for acquiring HIV, among other infections. Nearly 1/4 of high-risk drug users had been arrested for a drug-related offense during the course of their drug use, while the majority, 73%, had been arrested for possession of drugs. Many high-risk drug users had also been arrested for burglary, sex work, shoplifting, and theft. The health impact brought about by substance abuse is alarming and has presented challenges for the health facilities to manage. This is compounded by the high prevalence of secrecy amongst substance abusers who prefer to hide away for fear of stigmatization. Get help if you need it, and encourage your friends and family struggling with drug and substance abuse to also get help today. Get more information today. Visit the UNODC website and join us on the 25th of June 2021 as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives. Follow us on all our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event. In 2018, MTN through its foundation launched the Anti-Substance Abuse Program, ASAP, a multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral behavior change initiative aimed at reducing the rate of first-time and habitual use of substances or drugs amongst young Nigerians aged between 10 and 25 years. ASAP was supported by the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Health, NDLEA, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, amongst many other notable organizations and agencies. The campaign was implemented across 6 states: Lagos, Imo, Rivers, Bauchi, Kano, and the FCT, and leveraged on various tools to communicate the messaging such as drama presentations, a microsite, media campaigns, national and state conferences, advocacy walks, market campaigns, training for influencers, engagements in campuses, primary and secondary schools.
They taught us very well about the dangers of drug abuse and how it contaminates our destiny.
MTN chose the anti-substance abuse program specifically because we recognize that the youth is the future of this nation.
Over 65,000 Nigerians were directly impacted and millions were engaged, informed, and educated through the microsite and multi-level media outlets. The National Conference, a major stakeholder engagement platform that was held on June 26, 2019, in partnership with the NDLEA, coincided with the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day of that year.
The theme today, Justice for Health, Health for Justice, shows that it is possible working together to get a drug-free nation.
The charge was to get the word out there to the last mile on the street, that you have the power to create your future by taking a decision to stay away from drugs.
In 2020, the Foundation continued with its commitment to battling substance abuse in spite of the limitations brought about by the COVID pandemic. Partnering with influential youth brands, MTV Base, NetNG, and Business Day, as well as the UNODC. Digital channels and social media platforms were utilized extensively to create awareness and drive participation of youth. A well-attended webinar was held on June 26, 2020 to mark the day and was attended by notable personalities in government, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, medical sector, and faith-based organizations. This year, we continue our commitment to the war against substance abuse as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
I'd like to give a shout out to every Nigerian youth. It's tough growing up, but I think it's tougher when you have to take decisions. But the charge for me is for you to know as a Nigerian youth that we all love you. And what everyone wants is for that Nigerian youth to grow up and be the best that they can be.
Follow us on all social media handles for more information.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
But all I have to say is wow, wow, wow. A huge shout out to the ASAP program. This has been a very interesting documentary that we just watched. Now, we're going to be having a panel discussion very soon, but before we get into that, can I please, Becca, media team would like to get a shot of all of our amazing faces for the books. Great, I see a couple of videos coming on. Please, if you're still with us, please turn on your video. We'd like to have a quick group photo. It's a digital world now, so that's how we do these things. So please bear with us. Please turn on your video and let's do it really quickly. All right, media team, I hope you're on standby. We don't want to keep our folks waiting. Okay. I think we have better handful of people. We're good? Awesome. Thank you very much. I just got confirmation that the screenshot has been taken. Once again, a huge shout out to everybody who's here today. If you're just joining us, we had a fantastic roundtable talk with some entertainers in the industry. We had Joe Boy, we also had David Jones, and we have our fantastic winner of MTN Yellow Star, Dottie, and the session was hosted by the amazing Neni B and myself, Biodun. We've also heard from Mr. Ogaba Ede, who represented the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sport Development, giving us the keynote address. And we've also heard from the chairman of the MTN Nigeria Foundation, Prince Julius Adelusi Adelui, OFR MNI. And Mr. Frank Aibogo is also on the call. He gave us some opening remarks. Like I said, he is the one who keeps the ink wet when it comes to everything business in this great nation. Right about now, we're going to be diving deeper into the conversation. And if you just missed it, we just screened an amazing documentary put together by MTN's ASAP and an animation around just how bad the issue of drug abuse is in the world today. I don't know about you, but I found the data around the higher likelihood of women to report injecting drugs more than men quite fascinating, because it's interesting to also note that according to the UNODC drug use report published in 2019, 1 in 4 drug users in Nigeria is a woman. I always like to take a brief pause just so we acknowledge that statistic. 1 in 4 drug users in Nigeria is a woman. Again, this has the potential to hit closer than any of us can imagine. To shed more light on the conversation, we have a panel session that is coming right up, and I'm sure you know by now that MTN does it best. So we have some of the heavy hitters in the house, and this assembly of pioneers are doing amazing work when it comes to the campaign against drug abuse and illicit trafficking in this space. And today, they will be sharing some facts with us about how we can save more lives and just how rife the world is with all of the information that is out there that maybe should not be, but they're going to be giving us as it is. Without any preference, I would like to start to welcome our panelists. First up, I would like to welcome Mr. Oliver Stoll. He is from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Welcome, Mr. Oliver. Happy to have you with us. We've got Dr. Maimuna Kadri. She's the founder, Pinnacle Medical Services, and she's also on the panel today. Welcome, Dr. Maimuna. Can I see your wave?
Thank you.
Super, thank you so much for joining us. One of the freshest men in the game, Mr. Bada Akintunde Johnson, the country manager, Viacom's CBS Networks Africa. How are you doing today, sir? You're welcome.
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Super. Your outfit, we need to talk about it after this call, just because I want to have that in my wardrobe as well, okay? I love it. Next on the list, representing Pastor Tony Rapu, the senior pastor, House of Freedom, we have Dr. Osasuyi Idrisu, MD, PhD, LWW, research and strategist, also on the panel today. Dr. Osasuyi, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome. And we have the Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation, Oduayo Sonia. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Super. Thank you so much for joining us. And representing the voice of the youth, we've also got Joe Boy in the house. I hope he's still with us. Joe Boy, are you here?
I'm here.
Great.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, this panel is going to be moderated by one of my favorite people in this country because of the way he uses his platform in this campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Jones. David, now before I engage with him, you really need to hear his sonorous voice. And David, I mean, if it's not too much to ask, please come on board and do the thing you do, and let's hear that amazing voice of yours in the way that you campaign against drug abuse in this great nation. David, are you there?
Yeah. Thanks, Biodun. Thanks.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's
God
do
bless. it. Even though we don't do me, even do my body, yo, even though he not buy me, he don't buy somebody, yo, even though you never, even though you want to, I beg you, no brother, he go wound you, even though you didn't know, now you know, drug abuse is bad, even though we not do me, even you, even though you never, even though you want to. I beg you, no bother. Even do you, even though you didn't know, now you know. Drug abuse, the battle, even though them like, even though them don't like, I go do my part, I go sing them loud, oh. Even though, you know, be a drug addict, do your part, to be kindness for no carry them. Even though you never, even though you want to, I beg you no bother. Ego boon do you, even though you didn't know, now you know. Drug abuse is bad, oh. Even though he no do me, even do my body, oh. Even though he no buy me, he don't buy some. He don't buy somebody, you, even though you never, even though you want to. I beg you, no bother. He go on to you, even though you didn't know. Now you know. Drug abuse, battle. Even your friend says it's cool. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Even the country hard. Oh. Don't fall for it. Oh. Drug abuse is bad. Oh. Even though you never, even though you want to, I beg you no bother. It go wound do you. Even though you didn't know, now you know. Drug abuse is bad, oh. Even though he no do me, even do my body, oh. Even though he no buy me, he don't buy somebody, oh. Even though you never, even though you want to, I beg you no bother. He go wound do you, even though you didn't know, now you know. Drug abuse the battle, even though you didn't know, now you know. Drug abuse the battle.
That was fantastic, David Jones, David. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful rendition, buddy. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists for today, the moderator for the panel, David Jones. David, how are you feeling today, buddy?
I'm fine. It's just that when I sing like this, I get emotional and
I know, and I was going to talk to you about that. You create a whole character about this messaging that you put out. Where does this inspiration come from?
Yeah, the thing is, you know, what I created is an addict. Yeah. So whenever you sing, I try to, you know, depict what an addict goes through, because that's way and people, you know, going through this would want to sit down and listen to you instead of you presenting yourself as a saint, you know, to them. So that's one of the strategy, you know, I used to, you know, pass my message across. Sorry, I'm getting like this because I'm just trying to get out of that.
I completely understand. Hey, David Jones, David is an actor, a musician, and an all-round entertainer. And like I said, he's one of the biggest out there when it comes to using his platform to advocate against drug abuse. We just saw that wonderful rendition, and I guess you're the right man to be doing this. I'd like to implore all our panelists to please turn on their videos at this time, just so we can have some human interaction. Like they say, conversation is sometimes in the face. So please turn on your videos and let us get the party on the road. I've also been informed that we have over 2,000 people watching us at this moment, and I'm sure that the number is going to continue to rise. So yes, I believe everybody is sharing the link. with their friends, family, and even enemies, and posting on social. As this panel happens, please make sure you drop all your questions in the chat section, and we will be getting to them at the end because we have a Q&A session. Like I said, it's a discussion, it's a conversation. Let us make this happen. So David Jones, David, the floor is now yours.
Thank you very much, Biodun. You're such a wonderful person. And thank you again. So guys, welcome. I'll be moderating this section, and I'm so happy to be doing that. So I have a few questions I'll be asking each and every one of us, and I hope you're ready to give me those answers because we need to hear those answers. And without wasting time, I'll just go straight to the first question, and the first question goes to the first person in Odunayo Sonia. Are you there, please? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. You look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. I was going to ask you, did you act in Hotel Majestic?
Yes, I did. I played the lead.
Good, good. Yeah.
All right. MTN is an ICT company. What informed the decision to drive advocacy for anti-substance abuse?
Yes, it's true that MTN is an ICT company. And at the core of all we do is a belief that we have that everyone, every individual deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. And we also believe at MTN that our success as a business is tied to the well-being of the communities that we operate in. Now, backtrack to Nigeria. Nigeria is a young country, and the bulk of our population, about 70% at my last check, are young people. And so for us at MTN, it's a journey towards creating a future that we desire for our young people to thrive in. And so for us, it's very important to take on this challenge. A lot of people talk about the numbers, the economic situation and all of that, but we tend to ignore the impact that abuse of drugs is having on the young ones. Take, for instance, the COVID pandemic. You know, it came as we saw it strictly from a health perspective, an infection perspective, but it was multiple crises rolled into one. And of course, the numbers have shown that it has escalated this menace of substance abuse. And so for us as MTN, we are active participants in creating, you know, a desirable future. And that's why it's important for us to do this, keep the conversations ongoing in our homes, in our offices, on the streets, we're in bars, everywhere, wherever we find ourselves. And that's why we're doing this.
Thank you very much. Nice one. Nice one. You know, I don't intend wasting much time here, so I'll just go straight to the next question. Still to you. Is she still there?
Yes, she is.
Oh, thank you very much. So there is undoubtedly a significant reason to continue the ASAP initiative. From success tales of addicts who have recovered to the astounding numbers of youth who are getting into drugs. Do you want to speak quickly about your future goals in your quest to nip drug abuse and addiction in the bud?
Following the documentary that was played earlier, we've always adopted a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder approach to this, because we know that we are not the only ones who can do it. And so you see us partnering with many people, many other organizations, credible organizations and individuals. For us, ASAP is a promise to the Nigerian youth. And so it will continue. In spite of the pandemic last year, we were able to pivot and we had the first online version of it. And that's why we're still here today. Hopefully by next year, we're hopeful that things get back to some form of normalcy, and then we can really, you know, get together push the awareness, go down to the last mile physically, if the environment allows. So for us, it's a promise we've made, and we intend to keep, going forward. And when you look at how we've partnered for this event today, it tells you a bit of how we go about it. So we have strong partnership with the UNODC. We believe so much that we're not experts, so to say, just like you said, we're an ICT firm. And so we work with experts. So you find on the line Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. And we've also partnered with the Freedom Foundation, who are doing a great job, trying to nip drug abuse in the bud and rehabilitate, drug users. And so next year, we look forward to an even bigger and stronger partnerships with other government agencies and MDAs. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That'll be all for now. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Udunaya Sonia, and she's the Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation, and they're doing a great job. Thank you very much. So I'll be speaking next to Dr. Osasui D. Risu. Pardon me if I didn't pronounce that name very well. So is he or she around?
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, I was confused there. I didn't know if it was a male or female. I'm sorry about that.
That's
all right. Okay, God bless you. What are the hardest challenges to overcome on the road to recovery, in your opinion, as someone who works with people who are addicted, based on your experience over the years?
Thank you so much for that question. And by way of introduction, I just want to mention that I'm on the board of House of Refuge, and I worked closely with Pastor Tony over the last decade to do a lot of work around rehabilitation, both in the center and on the streets of Lagos. So I'll be speaking to our experience, doing that. I mean, the road to addiction, first of all, is complex. So the road to recovery is also complex, because sometimes we underestimate the challenge involved in, rehabilitating someone, taking someone, back into society. So I would say that some of the hardest challenges that we see in this process, first of all, is being able to deal with the relationship. So two key things: they need to build new relationships. They need to repair old relationships. So why new relationships? Because some of the relationships in their lives are not productive. So maybe friends and peers who use drugs, they need to begin to think about disconnecting from these people. And it's not easy. Some of these people have been in their bodies for years, but they need to repair old relationships. So relationships with family, sometimes a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, people are not happy, so there's a lot within the family going on. And a lot of times, if the family relationships are not repaired, people need that social support. People need support. No one exists in an island. So one of the biggest challenges we have, and it's something we take very seriously, is working hard to reconcile recovering substance users back to their families, and then helping them to build new relationships. So for example, in the church, in the mosque, thinking around how they can get engaged with positive relationship, join a men's group, join a support group. That is really important. And that is one of the biggest challenges, because sometimes they anticipate that they won't be accepted, and so they pull back from doing that. Another important thing is finding a new purpose. So you have someone who's dropped out of school, dropped out of work, he's no more functional, he has nothing to do. So if we do not link recovery with empowerment, with skill acquisition, with thinking about something new to do, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So there has to be that deliberate effort to ensure that people who are recovering are engaged. It's not enough to just give them books, sometimes, okay, they are reading, they are thinking. No, they have to get to work. The hands have to be busy. The mind has to be busy. And because it's when they have skills, they find a new sense of purpose, they can begin to transition back into society with the self-confidence that they need to cope. And then the last thing I'll just talk about, and because of time, is they need to also develop new coping strategies. And I think this is the biggest thing. So over the years, someone who has coped, he doesn't need to think about coping, or she doesn't need to think about coping. Once you're stressed up, you go take a smoke. So in recovery now, there has to be a paradigm shift from coping with drugs. So there have to be new coping mechanisms, and it still links to learning a new skill, getting people busy, exercise, music, but not music from the negative, but something to keep that person inspired. Religiosity is something that we also found very important. And that's why the centers and programs we run are faith-based, because people need hope to recover. There needs to be something that inspires hope for a person to successfully recover from drugs.
Okay, thank you very much. Freedom Foundation, I know over the years you guys have had a lot of success stories. And I mean, we see every day now. Day two, we day everywhere. They see Pastor Tony Rappo, where he what he does to help people fighting with addiction. We know you guys have a lot of success stories. Are there also stories and cases where you failed despite all efforts?
Thank you. So just following on from what we have discussed, addiction is complex. The starting point for recovery is that it's serious business. So it's that strong personal commitment to change. So it's not a walk in the park. It's not possible to get someone completely clean without personal motivation, without willingness to change, without a determination to start a new life. It's not possible. So it starts from personal commitment. Yes, we see a lot of times we have people coming who don't really see that need. So they don't have that keen insight. There's no compelling insight. There's no compelling drive to start afresh. So when we talk about all the different efforts that people were making, sometimes you are only just trying to get someone to that point where he now has insight and then sees that need to change. So when we begin to talk about why does this process fail, it starts first of all to think about how motivated that person is to change. But having said that, there's so many other things. The care needs to be integrated. So sometimes we start caring for someone, but we're still trying to bring the family on board. So we don't have strong family support. Where are we going to discharge this person to? How are we going to transition this person back to society without strong family social support? So we begin to think, so when we start working with someone, we begin to think about all the critical success factors. What is this person going to do after rehab? How do we get the family on board? What school is he going back to? How is he going to get a job? What sort of motivation does he have? So these are questions we begin to answer. Does he have comorbidities? So in addition to the drug use, are there psychiatric or psychological problems that can complicate recovery? Some of this, sometimes we have people who have developed other illnesses, that would limit their capacity to be motivated to change. So these are all the different reasons why sometimes, if some of these areas are not well covered, with all the hard work that we do, and sometimes, we have treatment failure.
Okay, one more thing before you go. I know that there are some people who maintain their daily usage, of drug intake and all that. How do they manage to do that? How do they manage to avoid addiction?
Okay, so what you're talking about instances in where people use substances but still appear to be functional. They go to work, they cope with daily activities, but they are still actively using substances, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and you see, I think this is the most important point I'm happy to make before I leave, and that's the fact that we need to clearly understand that people have very different genetic, environmental, and developmental factors that are linked to their personalities. So sometimes you have young people, for example, comparing notes and say, okay, this person can use a lot more than me, and he's still, even if when you go to the joints, you will see people who have taken so much and they say, that guy hasn't yet, he's still not high, he's still smoking to get that high. So there are a lot of individual genetic, personal factors that affect how people respond to use of drugs and how they cope subsequently. However, that does not necessarily mean that they're functional. A lot of people who use drugs function suboptimally, but we assume because they show up every day at work, and I have worked with a lot of people like that who manage to keep their jobs. They call you in the night to say, oh, I'm broken, I can't cope, I can't concentrate in the office. And a lot of times you will see that 3 years down the line, some of these people get sacked, from their jobs or have to drop out of school. So the fact that somebody appears to cope, first of all, does not necessarily mean that the person is holding it down together. Having said that, the pathways for addiction, are affected by a lot of other different factors, and that we'll not have time to talk about, that determine how well or how functional people are with their daily lives and daily activities, despite the fact that they're using drugs. Having said that, it's something we need to let young people understand, that the fact that you see someone appearing to carry out normally without breaking down does not necessarily mean that disaster is not waiting, right ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sasi Dirisu. And Nadon Yaranabi, all those people who say, I know one man, he has lived 40 years. He's been smoking this, he's been taking that. He's still very strong and agile. Be careful, though. You don't hear it now. You understand? Is Joe Boy in the building?
Present, sir.
Hello, Joe Boy.
Hello.
How far now? What's popping?
Everything nice. Everything
correct
good.
Guy. Correct guy. Your voice no be yeah. Your voice no be yeah. With the kind of voice you have there, say normally a young boys for streets, they talk say, man, if you never smoke, if you never, you understand, maybe sing that kind of song, you understand? So I say with you, like, I'm okay, fine. I can answer that because me said the sing, you understand? Yeah. And I don't do. Okay, let me ask you this question. I know, say, normally, we work with people who do drugs. Yeah. Like they see them normally. You don't let it go see them. If you don't like it, good. Now we even have them as friends. Yeah. Now, the question I want to ask you is, how do you handle this? Do you handle it like, do you condemn the people or condemn the act? How? How do you cope? How? Okay, you don't do drugs, and you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. So I think me condemning the people doing it would be wrong, because it's just going to make them defensive. And I think when you are trying to get people out of that situation, you are trying to help them out. You have to help them with love, not with because you like me condemn, or me trying to condemn them instead of their actions is going to put more pressure on them, and that pressure too can also lead to them falling back on that same drug you're trying to get them off. So I try to condemn the act and let them understand and realize that this thing usually never ends well. Like, I've not heard any story of someone that kept taking drugs and there was no mix-up or no mental issue or some health issues at some point. So I try my best. But the way I cope with my own pressure is I think I said earlier, I work out. I pray, I speak. They're like trusted people that I speak to. If I'm going through something, I'm having anxiety issues, or I just feel too much pressure. I have like mentors and people that I can talk to that, this is what I'm going through and everything. And I've never actually like decided that, it's drugs I want to go for or anything. Because I've witnessed, because I grew up in Bariga. I spent like a considerable part of my childhood in Bariga. And I saw like in real life terms what drugs did to young people's life, how it destroyed them. Like, I know some people that are walking like they're like mad people on the road right now because of drugs. So I can see like I saw the negative effects, and I decided that, okay, this is not something that is right or something that should be done. And there's a very, very alarming case of drugs, like on pills, Refnol, like in like almost every like young gathering these days, and it's very, very alarming. I think we should bring more more attention to it. I guess mostly because it's like, it seems cool, or there's a way that young people, or there's a way people make it seem to be cool, but it's actually not cool. It has adverse effects. It might feel cool in the moment, but it has adverse effects. And I think we need more education and more orientation for young people on that particular aspect so that I can understand and realize the negative effects of drugs.
Yeah, Joe Boy, I totally agree with you. And you're not gonna understand how you do me. Like, I'm really, really impressed, by everything you just said and how you handle things. As a matter of fact, before I come sing, so I first go do press up after I don't talk.
Yeah, it actually works. Actually, really works, to be honest. Once I found out, because I used to read about it, like how to handle pressure, and
Yeah.
now, like, my own like stress reliever with that now. Just working out, and just doing exercise, making my body move, making me sweat or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of youth needs to hear this, and you're doing great in your career. You understand? I think what you're doing right now, as you're talking to us about this, is also very good. I think you should also extend that to your social media handles and every other place that you go to, because you have a whole lot of people looking up to you. I'm your big fan. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I can imagine, a lot of your fans listening to you right now saying this. You don't change lives already. No. You don't understand. You already changed lives. Yeah. So thank you very much. Like you said, you can tell them, you condemn the act. You don't condemn the people. You understand? Because whether I like it or not, we have successful people who do drugs. You understand? It doesn't change the fact that they are successful. It doesn't change the fact that they are mentors to a whole lot of people. And this also means that if you would choose person where one mentor where you feel okay, you won't look up to the good thing now. You don't understand? The guy is successful, so choose one. That's why we're doing this thing, so that even though somebody's looking up to someone, then they choose what they don't look up to. You understand? No means say you just condemn the person totally. I've been able to mean by that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Condemn the action, not the person.
They need help. Thank you very much, Joe Boy. Thank you for lending your voice. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, guys, that was Joe Boy. And trust me, this motivate Joe Boy do like this now. Forget, he's already changing lives. I know what I'm saying because I know how many DMs I get just by singing against drugs of people who are really willing to stop doing drugs. So my next question will go to Mr. Bada Akintunde Johnson. He's the country manager of Velcom CBS Network Africa. So are you there, sir?
I'm very much here, present, body, spirit, soul.
This your cap fine, no?
Thank you, my
friend. Well done, boss.
Really?
All right. I have 2 questions for you, and I'm glad you're here to answer them. In the media and entertainment industry, you play a significant role. The prevalent view is that the entertainment sector is complicit in fostering lifestyle that reinforce, or as they now call it, normalize drug use. Please share your thoughts on this.
Well, globally, the media, music, film, everything in between, pop culture, have always contributed immensely to what people perceive as acceptable behavior, or what is cool, or what is popping, what's trending. Like Joe Boy already alluded to, the reason a lot of these young, impressionable people try and ultimately get hooked on hard drugs is because they've seen some person that they look up to use it and they're successful, or use it and appear cool. So to say the entertainment industry is complicit or has played a part is not wrong in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, if you follow the history of the cigarettes, for instance, and how it became, glamorized, it was, through advertising of the product using pop stars, using movie stars in the 60s and 70s in America. And globally, it became acceptable to hold a cigarette stick. Similarly, in this part of the world and everywhere else, to be honest, these super successful entertainers, people in music, people in film, people in sport, have influenced, unfortunately, rather negatively, a lot of young people. And if you ask me, I think that that's owing to the fact that a lot of them do not understand just the sheer power of influence that they have over other people. And when some of them have been confronted, they've carelessly said, "Oh, I didn't ask anybody to make me their role model. I just want to live my life and whatnot." And what you would see clearly from such statements is that there is an absence of knowledge. People can't give what they don't have. And so it behoves on us, on every one of us, every stakeholder within this space, to speak up, to prioritize around the problem. Because if these people understand the scale of the destruction that drug abuse is bringing to our society, and they see a clear link between some of their behavior and this destruction or this disaster or this pandemic, as I choose to call it. I'm not sure that if you have statistics saying 14% of our adult population is afflicted by, this. I don't think even COVID, which is, which has become almost synonymous with the word pandemic now, has afflicted that many people. So if they recognize, if all of us will recognize the role that we play, I think there'll be a lot more responsibility. There'll be a lot more caution. People wouldn't glamorize some of these destructive tendencies. The reason they do is simply because they don't know. So we've got to let them know. And it's the reason why, as Viacom CBS, we created MTV Sugar, first off as a platform to drive awareness towards other social ills like HIV, sexual health issues, gender-based violence issues, and we're obviously looking within the mental health and drug, substance abuse space because of just how many members of the audiences that we cater to are affected or impacted by these things. So again, let me sort of recap. First off, I agree that entertainment, the media, do play such huge roles in some of the negative portrayals that influence people to adopt some of these negative vices or these vices. Yes, so that's correct. But the reason that is so is because these guys, the actors, the musicians, the pop stars don't recognize or understand the extent to which they influence millions of people. As much as they inspire them to want to be big and successful and drive cars, big cars and live in big houses, to be successful, end of day, it's like a double-edged sword. Sword rather. They also have the capacity to influence these people to negative tendencies or negative behavior. So the moment we can get them to recognize just the role that they can play in helping society to stem the tide of this destruction, I think that more will get them on side and be able to record, the outcomes that we want, the results that we want, and reduce drug abuse to a minimum, or maybe sometime in the future, completely obliterate or eliminate substance abuse.
Thank you very much. I told you I had two questions for you, but because of time, I'll just make it one now. So I'll just go straight to ask Mr. Oliver Stope one of these questions, and we'll just round it up very fast. So Mr. Oliver Stope, are you there?
I'm here. I hear you.
Oh. Okay.
I'm here. Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Because of time, I'm going to be asking you just one question, and I'm sure it's going to be a very simple one. What is your assessment on drug abuse in Nigeria?
Simple one, but yet a big one. Now, well, first of all, thanks a lot to the MTN Foundation for actually organizing this. I think this is a great way of helping us to share facts, and I'm really grateful that you're doing this. We have heard already the numbers, but I think it's still worthwhile to putting them a little bit into context. So when we're talking about 14.4% of drug use prevalence in Nigeria, what does that actually mean? Well, that means that in Nigeria, the drug use prevalence is almost 3 times higher than what the global average is. I think we need to let that sink in, because statistics are to some extent helpful, but not unless you have context. I also really liked what Mr. Bada Akintunde Johnson just said a few moments ago about trying to put in context COVID and drug use, the drug use pandemic. When we're looking at COVID in Nigeria, at least, that is 170,000 people, not even up to, became so far sick of COVID, as far as we know. When we're looking at drug use, we're talking about 14 plus million. And if the predictions that UNODC just made yesterday in its World Drug Report are accurate, which I have no reason to believe that they will not be, is that at least if the growth continues as it has been growing so far, and just looking at the speed with which the population is going to be growing, we're going to be facing around 20 million drug users in Nigeria by 2030, so in less than 10 years. Already now we have almost 3 million Nigerians living with a drug use disorder, so they need actually counseling or treatment in order to overcome their addiction, and that is dwarfing the number of opportunities to access treatment and counseling. When we did the drug use survey in 2018, we found actually that about half of all the high-risk drug users that had tried to access drug treatment, they failed to do so, either because stigma was working against them, there weren't access, and often issues of cost. So we have a real issue, and we have a real issue, I think it was mentioned also at the beginning, I think you yourself made the point that we need to particularly be mindful of the very different impact that drug use has on women versus men and girls versus boys. In what way? Yes, of course, for now, women are less likely in Nigeria as elsewhere to use drugs than their male counterparts. 1 in 4 drug users in Nigeria is a woman, but only 1 in 20 persons in treatment presently is a woman. That means basically women and girls have massively more problems accessing drug treatment and counseling facilities. And that is a real source of concern. So overall, the situation is pretty bleak. I think the only reason for hope that we have is that we see a greater attention to the issue. We have seen the government coming out, the Presidential Advisory Committee on the elimination of drug abuse that was created, the reinvigorated work of the NDLEA. And I think for me, at least personally, the most encouraging sign is that we have now a national drug control master plan that yet needs to be adopted by government, but it is ready, and it truly adopts in line with international best practice a balanced approach, so-called balanced approach, which essentially means nothing else that we are putting equal emphasis and equal resources on the 3 legs of a comprehensive drug use response, which is enforcement on the one hand, but equally treatment and equally prevention, going into schools, but also addressing the needs of out-of-school children. And I think we have the right policy. So now the big challenge will be, of course, its implementation.
So thank you very much, Mr. Oliver. That was a good one from you. So I'll just go straight to Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. Dr. Memuna is the founder of Pinnacle Medical Services, and I have one question for you. Is she there?
I'm here. I'm right here. You want my camera on? Okay. Yes, camera is on. Yes, I'm here.
Question. How would you define the magnitude of the challenge we face in a society where many find it difficult to recognize and accept addiction and mental health issues? And what would you say needs to be done to help people embrace these issues?
Thank you very much. And I would say thank you to MTN Foundation and for this ASAP initiative, which I've been part of since inception. And of course, I'm going to stand on existing protocols. The magnitude is huge. The UNODC country director has just wrote out some statistics, and we've also watched a lot of the videos, and that has given us insight into it. Being a mental health physician, advocate, and a coach in this field, we do all understand the high level of discrimination and stigma attached to mental health, people living with mental illness, including their families. This, of course, due to several reasons, from cultural and religious beliefs, poor preventive mental health culture, and poor health-seeking behavior. When we now go down to alcohol and drug abuse, this is one of the example of mental and behavioral health disorders is a process. I need people to understand this. Alcohol and drug abuse issues is a process and never an event. And this is, of course, is one of the leading causes of preventable illnesses and premature death worldwide. So, many people with mental health issues tend to favor substances that offer relief from their psychological stress. And the reason is that people do drugs to do better. They do drugs to feel better. They even experiment, and most times they think it is fun. But of course, we do know that with time, tolerance, dependence, and before addiction will eventually set in. So some people just get into this because of using it to medicate for already existing mental illnesses. So the magnitude, why it is this big, is that COVID happened. Before now, we all know what the statistics are. But with COVID happening, I'll tell you for free, in our organization at Pinnacle Medical Services, before COVID, less than 5% of young adults, adolescents and young adults do come in for therapy and, of course, drug abuse issues. But as of now, over 20% of our patients are adolescents and young adults. And drug and substance abuse rank second among all the issues that they are delivering. And of course, depression is one major mental health related issue that we cannot keep, we cannot be oblivious about. Is from this depression, they try to medicate for treatment, finding ways to get out of this mood. Some of them run into using substances because they take different type of medication, and in the process of trying to get relief, they get into substance abuse. So the thing is that for us as individuals, family members, friends, it's always important to acknowledge that there's a problem. The issue is all about denial from people around us, and sometimes when people start telling us that there are issues, we tend to trivialize it. So it's good for us to acknowledge that there are issues, in the lives of these individuals and loved ones, around us. Because 1 out of 8 people that are abusing the substances, in the family members, they are affected. So let us begin to build a culture of compassion. When we start building culture of compassion, it enables people to speak up, speak out, and get the much needed help. Let's encourage help-seeking behavior. You do understand, I said, we have poor preventive mental health, poor preventive mental health culture. So, but the time we start encouraging help-seeking behavior, that will really help. And of course, not being denial. If you're a parent that your child needs help, get help. What will people say is one of the things that is killing us. Who are these people? Who cares about? Get help. People that are abusing substances can be treated. They can be helped. So being in denial is not going to help. Then, of course, parents also have to show love. They have to also listen non-judgmentally to children. Don't listen to them to respond. We know you may know all the answers, but listen to them to understand the point that what they are dealing with and the point you meet them at their point of need. And of course, get people to receive help from the right places, the right people, and of course, the right time. And that time, of course, is now. I will never keep emphasizing on that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maimuna. Parents need to show love. They need to listen. So thank you very much. Very well said. Thank you very much. So do we have Olawale Esho in the house?
No, we do not, David. We
don't. So, and that brings us to the end of this section. Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you, Mr. Oliver Stope. Thank you, Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. Thank you, Mr. Bada Akintunde Johnson. Thank you, Dr. Osasuyi Deirisu. Thank you, Odunayo Sonia. God bless you all for sharing more light on those questions that I've asked you guys. So right about now, I'll have to hand over this to my fellow moderator, Biodun. Biodun, are you there?
David, thank you so much. You did fantastic. I must say that this has been one of the most impactful sessions that I have been a part of all year long. Well done for holding it down. Thank you so much to our esteemed panelists. David, you've done the roll call, so I won't go over it again, but we are super honored to have you in our midst today. I'm sure that our over 2,000 people listening have gotten a message or two from today's panel. David, once again, a huge shout out to you. I know we're all muted, but hey, wherever you are, just a round of applause for yourself, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you once again. This is the Drug Convos, everyone. And in that spirit, the floor is now open for everyone on the call to please post your questions and comments in the chat section. I have the tech team sending some of the questions to me right now, and I will be fielding them to our panelists. So please don't go away just yet, panelists. There are some questions coming in, and I will be addressing them to each and every one of you respectively. The very first question that I have here, I am going to direct to Odunayo Sonia. The question here is, how can we get communique on this subject down to our youth that are not privileged to this type of events in schools, churches, mosques, and other areas? Odunayo, this one's for you.
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, the ASAP promise is a big one. We plan to go into schools, communities. However, we couldn't do that. We launched ASAP in 2019, and we couldn't do that last year, largely because of the pandemic. But it's something that we are planning, and it's part of our plan. And we're hoping that next year is kinder to us. The environment is kinder, and then we can begin to roll out all of this. We're working with UNODC. There's a curriculum that we intend to use to train teachers, students, and generally just make it available, in places of worship, the mosques and the churches, and just so that the message gets to the last mile.
Great, thank you very much. I've just been informed that for our audience watching, post your questions in Slido. That way they'll be captured and they'll be sent over to me. The next question here is, can getting youth to tackle their fear and lack of self-confidence be a big help in preventing drug use and abuse and addiction? This question I will direct to Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. I can go over the question once again if you need me to.
Yes, I guess so. Yes, I guess so. Please go over it again. Yes.
Great. The question says, can getting youth to tackle their fear and lack of self-confidence be a big help in preventing drug use, abuse, and addiction?
Can getting youth, right?
Yes, to tackle their fear and lack of self-confidence be a big help in preventing drug use, abuse, and addiction.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, my recent op-ed in I'm part of the Aspen Institute 2021. And so what they do with Aspen Institute Fellows is to amplify our voices in advocacy, media, and all that. And my recent op-ed is use of teachers to tackle teenage mental health related issues. So for me, it is very key, and the person that said that asked this question is, thank you very much for asking this question. Building self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence in our youth, starting from homes before they get into the school, and of course, they transcend into the society is very key. Because when you know who you are, what you can do, what your stressors are, and what you stand for, your values, it play a very significant role into what you want and what you don't want, because people mistake their wants for their needs. So, and the educational curriculum at this point in time, and since we are still in COVID era, I strongly believe the Ministry of Education to start looking into changing our school curriculum. We shouldn't just we shouldn't be doing things like social studies and whatever. Let us include things like emotional intelligence into our educational curriculum. Let us include mental health topics into our educational curriculum. These will go a long way in helping our children to build their self-worth, self-confidence, and of course, self-esteem. Because when you know who truly you are, which is part of self-awareness and part of emotional intelligence, it will go a long way for that child in letting go of substances and things that will inevitably affect his or her health.
Great, thank you very much. My next question here is, how do we differentiate drug abuse from self-medication? I direct this to Dr. Osasu Idirisu.
Thank you so much. So I know that's a very important question, given the fact that in Nigeria, that we do a lot of self-medicating. I'll start by saying that there's a very thin line, because we've been looking at a lot of the substances that we talk about when we talk about drug abuse. We talk about the illicit ones, so like cannabis, cocaine and the rest, but there are also licit substances that people can buy over the counter that can also become addictive. And so the guidance with medicating is there are substances or there are drugs that people can go buy over the counter, paracetamol, something for just basic medication. Okay, and the guidance on those medications would always say, if symptoms persist after a few days, see the doctor. And then we also know that for other substances, such as some sedatives and the rest, you need a prescription before you can buy those substances. But we know that in our country, due to challenges, issues with weak regulation, people can actually go and get, diazepam or different, even tramadol and a wide range of psychoactive substances and a wide range of sedatives that can also become addictive. So what I would say is the guidance is use drugs that you are allowed legally to buy over the counter. Follow the instructions. If symptoms persist after a certain period, go see the doctor. For substances that are not supposed to be purchased over the counter without a prescription, it is because those substances are regulated because of the risk of addiction, overdose, and all that. We need to also educate people more to recognize these substances and then to know that these are not things that they can actually just buy over the counter and use because of the risks associated with using those substances. There was a time, in the House of Refuge when we had a lot of people coming in, they were being admitted for addiction to Rofinol. And that's because that's flunitrazepam. It's a sedative substance. And this is a substance they're not normally supposed to buy over the counter, but they saw peers using this for stress relief and different things to cope with the exam stress. And they also went and found ways of buying them. How do they get these substances? they buy from illegal sources, some chemist people or people who hawk this around their schools and all that. So these things are tied up in sachets, and they buy this and use. So the key thing is to also, as we educate people about the dangers of illicit substances, is also educating people about the fact that pharmacological substances that are sold can also be addictive. Some of them can also be addictive, and people should refrain from buying. If you have any problem or have any challenge, it's better to see a doctor, talk to a counselor, but do not self-medicate. It is for substances that have the risk of addiction, it is a good pathway. A person who self-medicates is just 1 or 2 steps away from becoming addicted to these substances.
Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to direct my next question to Bada. There is a question here about, one of our attendants is wondering, why is marijuana legal in the US and not in Nigeria?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question again? Why is marijuana?
Yes, I'm directing this question to you because of your experience working with people across different climes. So you feel free to not answer it from a technical perspective. Feel free to just give your personal opinion. The question is, why is marijuana legal in the US and not in Nigeria?
Well, I mean, obviously, different countries have different laws depending on what the government of the day considers as acceptable in society. As of today, the Nigerian government doesn't recognize marijuana as a drug that can be purchased legally and used. Whereas in America, for instance, I guess people can medicate, people can treat certain ailments with the use of marijuana. So, and I'm also imagining that that's owing to maybe extensive research to establish that there's a benefit, a greater benefit that the substance gives within their society. Again, it could also be that the Nigerian government considers that before you can legalize the use of marijuana, certain control measures have to be, certain structures have to be in place so that you can curb abuse of it. But I mean, that's not to say that, of course, we know that illegal as it is, people still have access to it, people still use it. And as someone already said on the call, the thing to note is that though people can use it and not exhibit any sort of negative consequences or results over time, and getting addicted in itself to such a substance, or anyone at all of those substances, is what we don't want to see, and that's why we're having a forum like this. So even if sometime in the future it does get legalized, nobody would want to see anyone getting addicted to it, or to any drug at that. Like the last speaker just said, there are over-the-counter drugs that are legal that people can purchase, but still abuse. I mean, people can abuse water. People can die from drinking too much water. So whatever it is that you abuse has the potential of destroying you, whether it's marijuana or whatever. But as of today, to answer your question directly, marijuana is not legal in Nigeria because the government doesn't think that it should be. So I guess that's it.
Great. I have a question here that says, what advice do you have for intending couples to look out for during courtship? Because some people get married without knowing that the other partner is an addict. I think I'll direct this to Dr. Maimuna Kadri.
Such a question. That question is so apt because I remember when I was doing my residency at Psychiatric Hospital Yaba, we had a young lady who on our wedding night, on our honeymoon, she had a relapse. And of course, the young man just thought that, because of the stress of the wedding, that was the reason why she was dealing with that. And so by the time they got to the hospital, the parents, of course, of the girl knew that there was an issue. And then they told the medical records the number of the file of the daughter. And of course, when the file came out, it was humongous. And then the brother is like, excuse me, are you trying to say that you already know this, so you package this girl for me to marry? And of course, within our stay at the hospital, few days later, I came with a divorce. So we never discharged that girl to the husband. We discharged her to the parents. So that is still one of the perpetuating factor for discrimination and stigma. Why should you look into the well-being of an individual and just pick out only addiction? What if it is you, not the other person? So I need people to also put themselves in the shoes of people. And this takes us back to preventive measures. Because if we talk about prevention, culture of compassion, where people can easily speak up, speak out, get the much needed help, practice preventive mental health culture, seek help on time from the right places, the right people, and the right time, these wouldn't be seen as issues. And you wouldn't be stigmatizing people just because they are dealing with addiction issues. These are issues that addiction issues can be, people that are dealing with addiction can be rehabilitated. Though we understand that some may have other underlying mental related issues that are beatable, treatable, and of course, manageable. So I will not say I will not encourage people to be asking such questions with regards to knowing whether your partner has addiction. Addiction, anything in life, we can be addicted to it, not only drugs, sex, water, anything. So we should not take those things in isolation, but let us all build that culture. When we build it, that people can speak up, speak out, and receive help, these wouldn't be seen as issues.
Fantastic response. Thank you so much, Dr. Maimuna Kaneri. My next question I direct to Mr. Oliver Stoll. What is the possible solution to create a drug-free society?
Well, thank you so much. I guess if I knew the answer to that question, I might be out of a job. But on a more serious note, I think the approach that we have seen working best is the one called balance prevention and enforcement in concert. And we can, most of the high-income countries where this approach has been effectively implemented, we are presently witnessing a slow but steady reduction of drug use prevalence in their societies. So overall, if we educate people, if we provide treatment and counseling to those in need, and if we are making sure that our enforcement efforts continue to be effective, then we stand a decent chance of putting the drug use epidemic under control and increasingly succeeding, maybe not achieving a drug-free society, but certainly a society in which drug use is rare. I also would like to quickly follow up on something that was mentioned before with regard to how to intervene with young people especially, and whether life skill training would actually help. And in that regard, I have really some, I think, important and good news to share, because we've been partnering with the Federal Ministry of Education already for about 4 years now in the implementation of something of a program that is called Unplugged. And Unplugged is a life skill training, exactly as it was described before, that focuses on emotional intelligence, dealing with peer pressure, dealing with stress, dealing with group dynamics and knowledge of self. So a lot of these kind of basic skills that help you to grow in the growing up process in general, but also specifically helping to build resilience against the temptations of using drugs. It has been implemented across 100 federal government colleges in a couple of state secondary schools, and with great success, measurable success in delaying the initiation to drugs, in making it more acceptable to come forward if you have a drug use issue, in making people starting to look more out for each other and actually reporting to, for example, school counselors if they observe certain, let's say, drug use tendencies in their peers. So there's about 600 teachers across Nigeria that have been trained in that methodology, and they're doing an incredible job really helping those children that are benefiting from schools, which of course we all know are not all children in Nigeria, to tackle this issue. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Before I let you go, I'd like you to quickly touch on the subject of why marijuana is legal in the US, but not in Nigeria. A few thoughts there would help us buttress that point.
I thought that cup would pass me. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I think we need to be very serious about this issue. Cannabis is a so-called Schedule I drug. That means it's an illicit drug that has to be criminalized in terms of its use, its trafficking, and its cultivation under the so-called International Drug Control Conventions. The US, Nigeria, and pretty much all countries in the world are members to that convention. So there is a legal obligation to comply with the provisions of that convention. In the case of the US, I think you have to ask that question better to somebody representing the US. I do understand there are some differences between federal versus state legislation. But as I said, this is really a question that should be answered by those countries that have decided to legalize or to decriminalize forms of, well, personal use of drugs. And I think there is a good point that we always are very supportive that we do not want drug users to be criminalized in the sense of harsh punishments, but basically helped with their health condition rather than being punished. But in terms of like the specific legislative steps that have been taken by countries, I think that question needs to be answered by the representatives of those countries.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're winding down now, but I will just have one last question. It's two questions, but I'm going to try my best to merge it into one. And I think I'll direct this to David Jones. David, if you're still with us. So the way the question is couched, I'll just try and contextualize it. So I'm a young person living in a local community. However, I have identified the fact that I have an addiction, but I live in a local community. What immediate steps do you think I can take to get access to help? David?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not a professional. Usually, when people contact me with such questions, I just refer them to a professional. You understand? So I want to treat this question like you're sending me a DM and I'll refer you to a professional. So we have people like that in the house. Can you please direct this question to them?
I love it. I will reroute the question to Oduayo Sanya.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for rerouting the question to me. You live in a local community. My thoughts, and you say you have a problem. I'm also not a specialist, but I want to believe that perchance you could see someone who's like a mentor to you and express yourself. Now, I don't know how far or how much in terms of in the hinterland your community is, but you can also reach out. On this call, we have Dr. Memuna, we have Dr. Osasuyi Divisu. If you can type in your details, and then we can get back to you and just refer you to them. I also know that you can check the UNODC website. I know that there are lines there for help. You can also visit the MTN micro site, and you can also pick up some lines you can call for help. That's the best I can say, on this call, because I really don't know where your community is or how far you in terms of being in the hinterlands that you are.
Fantastic.
So if we could get the email, we could send details of how to get help in that environment to you.
All right, tech team, please help us reach out to the person who asked that question for us to extend further resources to them. Oduayo, thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to ask all of our panelists once again to please turn on your videos. We'd like to do another screenshot for the tech team. Trust me, I'm sure we're starting to enjoy this. So please, everybody, turn on your video and let's get this done. So tech team, you're on standby. Quick snapshot for us. David Jones, Bada, please join us. Let's get this photo taken. All right. Please signal me once the photo is taken. And we are good. All right, thank you so much. Thank you once again to all of our panelists in the house today. That was a fantastic session. If you are just joining us, I must say that you have missed quite a lot, but I'll try and do you a solid by giving you a quick rundown of what went down. This is the Drug Convos brought to you by MTN's Anti-Substance Abuse Program, courtesy of MTN Foundation in collaboration with United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Now, tomorrow, Saturday, is the 26th of June, is the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day. We decided to do this today so that everybody can be a part of this commemoration, and like I said earlier, so that you can get to your Owambe on time. We kicked off with a roundtable talk hosted by the delectable Nenny B, and it was graced by some media heavyweights, so some of our entertainers, Joe Boy, David Jones David, Yellow Star winner, Dottie, and myself. We also got to listen to the publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Aibogu, who then make welcome the chairman of MTN Foundation, Prince Julius Adelusi Adeluyi, OFR, MNI, who gave us an amazing opening remark. And we also got to hear from our Minister for Youth and Sport Development, who was represented by Mr. Ogada Ede. And I am still overcome by emotion from some of the salient points he touched on in his address. We then showcased a couple of visuals that brought it all home. We showcased the work that MTN ASAP has been up to, and also an animation that just showed us how much worse the COVID-19 pandemic has made the issue at hand, and also some more facts about drug addiction in general. We also just concluded a panel session that was, fantastic. I don't know how to just top that, but hey, once again, a huge shout out to all of our panelists: Oliver, Bada, David Jones, Dr. Memuna Osasui, Joe Boy, and Oduayo. Thank you all so much. Before I call on the director of MTN Foundation to give us the closing remarks, that's going to be given to us by Oduayo Sonia. I quickly want to talk to us about a fantastic microsite that has been brought to you by the ASAP program. Now, while we might have seemingly crystallized the conversation today, please know that all of this exists beyond the session that we are having at this event. Now, you can find relevant information that gives you immediate access and support and direction when it comes to managing drug abuse. As you can see projected on screen right now, asapmtnf.com. That is asapmtnf.com. You might want to write that down, bookmark it, add it to your reading list, share it, and all that awesome stuff. There you will find links to where you can learn more about MTN's ASAP program. There's a media center where you can find videos of our work and details of all the healthcare providers that are experts in handling drug and mental health related issues across the country. You can also sign up to volunteer or get training as an awareness influencer via our workshop. So once again, the URL is asapmtnf.com, asapmtnf.com. Remember, bookmark it, share it, write it down, and all that awesome stuff. We have now come to the moment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you have all had a fantastic time. Without further ado, I would like to call on the Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation, Oduayo Sonia, to give us the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Biodun. I think you just called on me to introduce the person that would be giving the vote of. He is. I see Mr. Dennis Okoro on, our director. Mr. Okoro will be, yes, okay. He's on the call. I can see him signed on. Awesome. So, sir, I present to you our director of the MTN Foundation, Mr. Dennis Okoro.
Mr. Dennis, if you're with us, there you go. Sorry, okay, I'm muted, sir. He's trying to speak, he's just muted.
Good, thank you. Sir, you're muted.
Sir, you're muted, sir. You need to unmute.
Please, could you take me back to what you want me to do? I earlier told them that I just came in from a very serious board meeting, and I normally participate fully. I came in while my chairman was speaking. And Oduayo, please, can you repeat what you expect from me now? I'm sorry.
Okay, we wanted you to give the vote of thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I must apologize. I used to be very active in participating in this ASAP program. From the years it's been started, we've done a bit of work, field work in Abuja, road works in Oyo State and Lagos State. But the pandemic has confined all of us to a limited space of virtual meeting. I was happy I heard what the experts said, especially the young man who made a statement that he doesn't condemn the individual, he condemns the art. And that's his way to begin. And the recommendations about starting from the home to build the self-esteem of our children, especially the school system. If teachers will be important components of whatever training that will come up and teach about drug abuse, because some teachers help the children to degenerate by the way they talk to them and don't perceive them as human beings with personalities that need their respect. They fail a program, they start describing the child where he is, and this is why you don't do this. We should be much more compassionate and be loving with children and give them opportunity to express themselves. It's the educational system that suppresses the children not airing their views in the classroom that lead to children having recourse to drug to escape from whatever pressures they have. This is why those who said in the educational system we must put in the curriculum emotional intelligence and all that. More especially, allow children to be themselves in the classroom. A quiet classroom, you'll be sure that no learning is taking place in a quiet classroom because the children are there moping at the teacher, absorbing all sorts of things, and yet they expect them to go beyond that. But if the classroom is free and child-centered, then the child will know that he's loved, he can express his opinion, and to give him chance to talk to his teacher if he has any problem bothering him. For those who are, their job is to control drug abuse, the police and all security agencies that run around them. I've made this before 2 or 3 years ago, that we should start looking at those children used under the bridge who abuse drugs are victims. Look at drugs as health issues rather than criminalizing them. The fact that a child is sitting quiet under the bridge and smoking whatever he smokes does not make him a criminal. So our policemen and those who want to control these children should be more empathetic and talk to them and find out before they put them into cells with criminals and they come on worse off than they entered. So I thank all our partners who consistently every year, the business day and all that, make sure that we have a platform to discuss issues about drug abuse. And as the Executive Secretary of MTN has said, we have big programs for youth empowerment and development, and a portion of this particular drug thing will get more prominence in some of the programs we do. So all the specialists who have spoken to us and everybody, organizations who've been partnering over the years, on behalf of MTN Foundation, I thank you very much and believe that we can keep this going on for as long as we can have the necessary wherewithal to support this gathering and forum to look at the problems of our youth. Thank you very much. I wish you safe journey wherever you go and get to your destination in time. I'm sorry I wasn't fully participating, but I pray that for next time you will see my usual self, because I'm very, very passionate about youth. I'm one of those Nigerians who never condemn youth. Rather, I see them as victims of government's inaction, victims of parental inaction, victims of school inaction in a positive way to put a human face to the dealings of our youth in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You have nothing to apologize for. We can feel the passion in your voice, in the way that you speak to this topic. God bless you very much, and we're super excited that we're able to have you here. Once again, to all of our guests, all of our panelists, everybody who joined us today on the session, we say a huge thank you to you for gracing this event. To all of our partners, MTV Base, Hip TV, NetNG, Business Day, thank you, thank you, thank you. A huge congratulations to the MTN team and the MTN Foundation team for pulling off yet another successful gathering and being pioneers in the tech space and how we connect to the human society. On behalf of the organizers, my name is Bjorn Laro, popularly called B Diesel. This is me signing out. Thank you so much, everybody. And I wish you safe return to whatever it was you were doing before this event started. Once again, a huge congratulations. Let's keep the conversation going on social. Hashtag drug convos, hashtag share facts on drugs, save lives, hashtag ASAP, hashtag World Drug Day. Share the information, people, and show love to anybody in need right about now. Take care. This is Biodo signing out. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.
The misuse and abuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing and worrying problem in our country, Nigeria.
It is a known fact that the consumption of drugs is destroying the health,
the lives, and the future of our youth, filling it with darkness.
Teens and young adults are most at risk
with many new drug users being under the age of 18.
Who abuse prescription drugs and opioids, regardless of cost
and obvious negative impact in their lives, relationship, and health.
We strongly believe in the potential of our youth and are committed to supporting and working with you in this fight against substance abuse.
To secure a brighter future.
So come join us on the 25th of June 2021
as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime
to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking,
also known as the World Drug Day, with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
Follow us on our social media handles for more information and attendance of the digital event.
Everywhere you go, MTN. In 2018, MTN through its foundation launched the Anti-Substance Abuse Program, ASAP, a multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral behavior change initiative aimed at reducing the rate of first-time and habitual use of substances or drugs amongst young Nigerians aged between 10 and 25 years. ASAP was supported by the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Health, NDLEA, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, amongst many other notable organizations and agencies. The campaign was implemented across 6 states: Lagos, Imo, Rivers, Bauchi, Kano, and the FCT, and leveraged on various tools to communicate the messaging such as drama presentations, a microsite, media campaigns, national and state conferences, advocacy walks, market campaigns, training for influencers, engagements in campuses, primary and secondary schools.
They taught us very well about the dangers of drug abuse and how it contaminates our destiny.
MTN chose the anti-substance abuse program specifically because we recognize that the youth is the future of this nation.
Over 65,000 Nigerians were directly impacted and millions were engaged, informed and educated through the microsite and multi-level media outlets. The National Conference, a major stakeholder engagement platform that was held on June 26, 2019, in partnership with the NDLEA, coincided with the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day of that year.
The theme today, Justice for Health, Health for Justice, shows that it is possible working together to get a drug-free nation.
The charge was to get the word out there to the last mile on the street, that you have the power to create your future by taking a decision to stay away from drugs.
In 2020, the Foundation continued with its commitment to battling substance abuse in spite of the limitations brought about by the COVID pandemic, partnering with influential youth brands, MTV Base, NetNG, and Business Day, as well as the UNODC. Digital channels and social media platforms were utilized extensively to create awareness and drive participation of youth. A well-attended webinar was held on June 26, 2020 to mark the day and was attended by notable personalities in government, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, medical sector, and faith-based organizations. This year, we continue our commitment to the war against substance abuse as we collaborate with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to commemorate the International Day Against Substance Abuse and Illicit Trafficking with the theme, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives.
I'd like to give a shout out to every Nigerian youth. It's tough growing up, but I think it's tougher when you have to take decisions. But the charge for me is for you to know as a Nigerian youth that we all love you. And what everyone wants is for that Nigerian youth to grow up and be the best that they can be.
Follow us on all social media handles for more information.
Everywhere you go, MTN.